AP of the day 24. Now, I was on Guild Wars 2 Efficiency, right? Looking at the various achievements that I completed. My main motivation actually was to see any easy achievements worth a lot of AP. Because a lot of the recent ones, you know, it's 1 or 2. And I don't really take an issue with it. But I've kind of got the bug to get a lot of AP at the moment. And I was wondering if Guild Wars 2 Efficiency just had that, you know, as a thing on it. Anyway, so I never really found anything that was worth a lot of AP. But I did realize that there's a couple of achievements, even in Season 3, that I don't have. Now, Season 3, I'm like 99.99% done with everything. But there's a couple of little things I'd missed. Now, Lake Doric here and the Head of the Snake release was the first of the holes. So basically, there are a couple of achievements on this map that I don't have and don't know that I don't have because they're hidden achievements. Each is worth 1 AP apiece, but I figured since they were laid bare there on efficiency via the APIs and whatever, I'd go for them. So here's the first. It was literally just here in this town, next to One Drink Drake, you do /dance. I messed it up and did /Dane before. There you go. That's an achievement. A hidden achievement on the release worth 1 AP that I didn't have. So, yeah, I grabbed that. And then the rest of the video is going to be... So that was called Dance Club. The other one's going to be for an achievement called Perfect Execution. Involving one of the dynamic events. In fact, 2 of the dynamic events here on this map that I also didn't have and also were hidden. With them done, I will get that section on efficiency filled in green, which always feels pretty good. And then once I've done with these 2, that's this entire release finished. As I thought it was already finished, to tell you the truth. I have a vague memory of knowing I had something missing from this release a long time ago. Well, now finally we're getting it. And then I have a similar issue with the finale of Season 3. There's like 1 achievement that I'm missing and still need to pick up. So I didn't know how difficult this would be, and my instinct coming onto this map actually was that it could be really tough because there's lots of big group events on this map. And I wasn't actually confident in what the population would be like. So my thinking was go Reaper so I can solo these events that really aren't supposed to be soloable. And so, yeah, here we're at New Loamhurst. And there's the legendary Queen Slayer here. I already have this achievement. But since I was in the area, I thought I'd kill it and just see how difficult it is with Path of Fire level power creep. I know we're not on a Path of Fire spec, but that's kind of a shallow way of thinking about balance, that only the Path of Fire specs are the power crept ones. The game in general, you know, core specializations, everything's getting stronger as they keep buffing things. But, yeah, so I did that, and I was actually really happy as well to see that there are players around, frankly. In fact, every single event I do here, as I wander around in Lake Doric, other players have been there. I think AP of the Day has been really cool, actually, because I don't think there's a single achievement I've done that I haven't seen other players still around. Like, even as we just wandered through this town, you just saw a Soul Beast standing around. It's cool. I still want even more population for the game, so even more maps are even more frequently more populated. But it is awesome that even, you know, a fairly, you know, this is like the middle release a whole season ago. You'd think that this is like the absolute deadest of maps, wouldn't you, at this point? But it's not so dead that you won't find people. Anyway, so the idea of the achievement is that in this area of the world, there are 2 different events that can occur. One is to do with saving citizens being burned at the stake. I think that one triggers when the nearby town has fallen via the map-wide dynamic events. And you guys may recall that these events chain into one another in very convincing and fun ways. So I was assuming that because the town isn't done, I'd have to do the other event. The other event relates to these Quaggan, and I believe is only here really as content for people if the meta isn't pushed in kind of a nasty way. So you can find these Quaggan at this village, which I must admit I forgot existed. My memory had me recalling this lake as like extremely shallow and pretty much empty. But no, there's some Quaggan that live here. And basically the idea is they want to leave now because the lake has shrunk so much and, you know, it's a generally dangerous area. Some of them want to stay and eke out their existence. Other ones want to, you know, find new homes. So if you look right now, it says Quaggan refugees escorted 0 out of 3. And it's an interesting event in that you do it piecemeal. And you kind of get to decide how fast you want to run the event based on how many players are around. Because you actually have to trigger each escort. It wants us to do 3 escorts. And, you know, if it's just me here, I could speak to 1 Quaggan, and do that escort, go back to the village, speak to the other, do his escorts, and go back to the village. If we had a whole Zerg, we could trigger all the Quaggin all at once and do it all at once. Now, I didn't quite understand that, so what you'll notice here is I've triggered 2 of 3 already. I'm escorting 1, but the other one, I don't know whether there's any players there or will get any help whatsoever. So I'm watching the health bar very closely. Now, the name of the achievement is Perfect Execution, so I'm assuming that I can't let any of the Quaggin die. If I do, then, you know, I've messed up somehow. So I'm actually kind of concerned at this point. I also thought a very cool detail in this, by the way, was the Quaggin actually got hit by that player trap and crippled. I kind of would have enjoyed giving it some swiftness so it can move faster here. It seems to interact with a lot of stuff. So it's a nice event. And I'm watching right now just to see how the other health bar goes as I cleave the enemies out. It's a thing that's kind of representative of an issue a lot of escorts have in the open world as well here, though, in that there's no real sense to the waves of enemies that attack these Quaggin. There is just random stuff spawning out of nowhere that you have to cleave down. And so you never really know when the next danger is coming. It's just whenever the devs arbitrarily decide danger should be there. And in a sense, isn't very immersive. Here we had to swap to the other Quaggin for a second because it was low. But then I noticed that he actually has people escorting it. Then the original Quaggin I did just finished. So now I'm back at the hub and we'll get this guy here. So yeah, players help me out on this event. Back to the idea of the spawns being arbitrary. Well, hopefully you'll see that in a second. I finished this event here, right? Cleaving down these waves, spectral glass, pull them in. It's pretty easy. But when this event ends, the Quaggin's going to say, oh, I'm safe now, thank you. And he's going to be on a road, just like any other that we've been dealing with the whole time. And it just kind of left me scratching my head and thinking, well, what's to stop White Mantle jumping it in this area of the river instead of another one? And I don't know, it was an interesting thing playing this and looking at the way that the nature of escort events in Guild Wars 2. And how it's actually profoundly unimmersive, the way that the devs can just cheat and put mobs wherever they like. It's something that I've acclimated to for years now and don't really think about anymore, but curiously, right here at the start of 2019, doing this achievement just made me think of it for a second. Think about the idea of other MMOs and to really create that sense that they're real, living, breathing, cohesive, immersive places. They probably can't get away with what ArenaNet does with their dynamic events. I mean, maybe the landscape across MMOs in general is to just be comfortable spawning crap out of nowhere. Like, look at this bear. This bear's attacking the Quaggin because it's quite blatantly an ambient mob in the area that's now seen a delicious Quaggin and wants to fight, and there's something immersive and real to that. But this other stuff, not so much. You could see as well, like in Queensdale, the devs try really careful with those escorts to have it make sense, like Skelk attack from like shrubbery, or scale come out of water, or spiders actually vine down from the trees in Edda's Orchard or whatever. You know, they care about that. But nowadays, and before even they got through Corteria, you see that a lot of that stuff just kind of fell away because there's only so many ways you can intelligently spawn things. I'm probably extra critical about it with Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet though, just because I remember the early interviews where they were talking about dynamic events being a solution to that problem of unimmersive enemies and content. Dynamic events were a solution to, you don't need to have enemies picking daisies and fields just wandering around waiting to be farmed. You can do something more, right? And yeah, I don't really think that they solved that issue in any way here. So there you go. That's the Quaggin. Perfect execution complete. Plenty of help from the other people. And there you can see I got Dance Club, perfect execution. And that's Lake Doric finished. This Quaggin will wander through the portal. And yeah, I'll see you guys for maybe the other Season 3 achievement next time.